Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit two or more fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or tempting passersby to eat of the tree whereof it is commanded that thou really shouldn't not eat, and see who would win. This week, Crowley from Good Omens versus Crowley from Supernatural. A lanky man wearing sunglasses, a red shirt and black suit, and driving a Bentley like a bat out of hell roars into the Springfield city limits. Blue flashing lights come on in the rearview mirror only to thud out of view suddenly when the Bentley driver waves his hand dismissively. The police cruiser is flat on the ground at a cross street, wheels nowhere to be found. Chief Wiggum gets out and looks at the empty wheel wells suspiciously. He is almost definitely somewhat certain that there were wheels on this car a minute ago. He considers yelling, "Stop thief!" just in case somebody nearby took the tires. He turns to see if there are any likely suspects and comes face to face with a man in all black with a slight receding hairline and a permanent smirk on his face. Problem, officer? I'll say it's tire thieves. Got a lot of tire thieves around Springfield these days. I'm just investigating the scene. Chief Wiggum pokes the wheel well intently. I see. Thought you might be at the crossroads for other purposes. As you've got the situation well in hand, I'll just pass on by. Unless you want me help. Help? Oh god, are you an undercover agent? You're not gonna tell the superintendent about this, are you? You know, if you're undercover, you gotta admit if I ask you. The man in black gives a mocking nod. I'll keep between us this time, Chief. Wiggum, is it? If you need anything, the name's Crowley. Chief Wiggum blinks and Crowley's gone. The man in the Bentley, meanwhile, has found a place to park, made a place to park, just past the house of Ned Flanders. The Blaupunkt, which had been playing Don't Stop Me Now, crackles and a voice from the depths of hell, the mid-level management of hell, says, "This is Kingsley. You've located the target, yes?" Crowley, the man who is not really a man so much as man-shaped, looks in the rearview mirror to see Ned Flanders checking his mail and waving to neighbors. Yes, I found him. Good, now get his soul for us. Crowley looks suspiciously at the speakers. Oh, right, of course, his soul. Happy to get it, just as soon as you'd like. Is there anything special about it I ought to know? Any sort of Armageddon-ish things, perhaps? No, it is unrelated to the Great War, the voice from the speakers says. Crowley sighs in relief. But we've sent another agent to collect the soul as well, just in case. Crowley looks back at Ned Flanders, watering a bush cheerfully. In case what? In case, the voice says before fading back into Freddie Mercury's canonically God-given voice. Crowley flips the Blaupunkt off and gets out to look around. Standing nonchalantly at the other end of the sidewalk in front of Flanders' house is a man Crowley recognizes as Crowley. Smirking Crowley gives a wink. Sunglasses Crowley looks pityingly at his opposite, his yellow eyes unblinking. Ned Flanders, unaware that his soul hangs in the balance, waves at both of them. Hidely ho, folks! What can I do you for? Both Crowleys have been tasked with getting Ned Flanders to hand over his soul, but which Crowley is the best at underworld wheeling and dealing? I don't know. I'm too goth for this kindergarten shit. Get on my level, Crowleys. That is why I, Kit Mulcairn, will be your impartial judge this week. Representing Crowley from Good Omens are Miles Schneiderman.
In my world, smash fiction losses are things that happen to other people.
And MeganBob.
The advocate who didn't smash so much as saunter vaguely fiction words.
Representing Crowley from Supernatural are Dan Mulcairn.
No one in the history of torture's been tortured with torture like the torture you'll be tortured with.
Yeah!
That's us, Bob. That's us.
Oh, no, boo!
And returning guest host, Brad Bultman.
Hello, boys.
Yeah!
In order to determine who goes first this week, I asked both teams to name the best hell-themed animal. Team Good Omens chose the vampire squid, a cephalopod that shares Crowley's color aesthetic of red and black and lives in one of the deepest, darkest, most inhospitable parts of the ocean, aka Cthulhu's summer home. Team Supernatural chose Hell Cow, aka Bessie from the Marvel Universe. While not real, she is an animal wearing a cape, so Team Supernatural is going first.
All right.
I don't make the rules. Team Supernatural. Hello, boys.
These demons may have the same name, and they may even have a very similar home address, at least on their stationery, but in a lot of ways, these guys are from very different walks of life. A lot of that can be blamed on their respective creators. No, not God or Lucifer or whatever, but on their actual creators. See, Supernatural was created in the US as a melodramatic action fantasy series. They may be limited by the standards of broadcast television, but they push that limit to the very edge with beheadings, torture, and every amount of unpleasantness that can be crammed into a TV-14 rating. To quote the demon Meg in the episode Born Under a Bad Sign, quote, "Hell is like, well, it's hell. Even for demons. It's a prison made of bone and flesh and blood and fear." End quote. And it produces some extremely nasty demons, from invisible and budget-conscious hellhounds to physical embodiments of natural disasters and the 7 deadly sins. Good Omens Crowley was made by the combined efforts of Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, gentle British men more interested in using their work to gently satirize modern British life. The demons in Good Omens are about as scary as an average Monty Python character. So, despite their surface-level similarities, what we have here is a gentle, antique car enthusiast who's really into the idea of putting beans on toast and drinking beer at room temperature, versus a manipulative psychopath who's had to fight and kill for everything he has and is willing to fight and kill in order to get more.
Damn, shots fired at the British already.
G.O. Crowley is capable of some admittedly impressive feats of reality bending, but they're not limitless, and they're not without cost. When he's driving the flaming remains of his car toward the impending apocalypse at the end of the book, it takes every ounce of willpower just to keep the car together. There's only so much he can do, and realistically, it's not a world-shaking amount. His main feature, arguably, is being a not particularly bad demon, in the same way that his angelic counterpart Aziraphale is a not particularly righteous angel. Claire's not here to give her increasingly obligatory Dr. Evil reference, so I'll go ahead and say it. Good Omens Crowley is not quite evil enough. He's semi-evil. He's quasi-evil. He's the margarine of evil. He's the Diet Coke of evil. Just 1 calorie, not evil enough. Aziraphale sums it up nicely at the end of Good Omens when he says to Crowley, quote, "We seem to have survived. Just imagine how terrible it might have been if we'd been at all competent." Good Omens Crowley claims to be interested in the big picture, more about the slow, gradual erosion of humanity as a whole than in corrupting individuals. But even if we take him at his word, his grand millennia-spanning schemes amount more to low-key annoyances like mobile phone network outages and traffic jams. This works fine as an excuse for a demon who's not particularly interested in actually being evil and destructive to point to and say, "See? I'm still bad. Real bad." But on a practical level, when it comes to quickly and definitively leading someone down the path to destruction, it leaves a little something to be desired. Good Omens describes Crowley as, quote, "an angel who did not so much fall as saunter vaguely downwards." He's deeply uncomfortable with actual atrocities, being driven to get drunk for a week straight after learning about the Spanish Inquisition. He's the sort of demon that sleeps through entire centuries at a time, rather than get up and actually do evil things. Canonically, he slept through almost the entire 19th century. I can't even begin to imagine Supernatural Crowley taking that much downtime. For one thing, he'd probably end up the target of innumerable assassination attempts by other demons, but moreover, he's just too ambitious. Good Omens Crowley is content to be a low-ranking demon, hanging out in London and providing minor annoyances for the human race. Supernatural Crowley was instrumental in imprisoning Lucifer himself, and then became the king of hell. Forget about demonstrated abilities and skills, let's just look at who is going to have more infernal belly fire for this. If this is a match between an astoundingly ambitious demon who rose to the position of King of Hell through his manipulative skills alone, and a demon who has to be dragged into performing acts of evil kicking and screaming, who has consciously avoided doing anything which will actually hurt people, who wouldn't take a promotion if it fell into his lap, which one do you think is going to put in the effort needed to turn someone like Ned Flanders? Sorry, but Good Omens Crowley just can't ding-dong diddly do it.
This is the part where you say it doesn't matter, because in this match, G.O. Crowley will be motivated to succeed because reasons. Except that it does matter. G.O. Crowley simply has the wrong Myers-Briggs alignment for this task, and a motivational seminar does not grant you the hard-won skills of the power-hungry. The world of the ambitious is a constant and arduous obstacle course of manipulation, backstabbing, deal-making, power plays, and long cons. It's stressful, exhausting, and it is not kind to rookies. Supernatural Crowley has been painstakingly advancing through the ranks of hell, while G.O. Crowley has been literally sleeping on the job. Supernatural Crowley is like a champion returning to American Ninja Warrior for one more title. And G.O. Crowley is the complacent viewer at home who suddenly decides, hey, I bet I could do that.
Hey, fuck you, Brad. No, I'm just kidding.
But even
Ooh, cut a little too close to home on that one.
Yes, because I think I can do American Ninja Warrior. Look at me.
But even assuming G.O. Crowley has the drive to get out of bed on a particularly cloudy Tuesday morning and drive his Bentley to Springfield, a place where you can't get a good cup of tea to save your life, what abilities does he even bring to this match? He seems incapable of performing any true, intentional evil, he has little to no experience in tempting humans, and his powers seem to be rather limited to metamorphosing himself and objects around him. To compare, Supernatural Crowley has a vast and seemingly endless array of powers at his disposal. His best of demons hits include instant teleportation to anywhere on Earth or Hell, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, super strength, invulnerability, control over hellhounds, and demonic possession of various vessels. Of course, he also has his vast knowledge of the occult, which makes him indispensable to other power players. But his best and most crucial power in this scenario is the forming of demonic pacts. Before Supernatural Crowley ascended to the highest office in Hell by hostile takeover, he was king of the crossroads. To anyone unfamiliar with that term, a crossroads demon is a special subclass of demon who specialize in the traditional deal with the devil pacts for one's soul. Supernatural Crowley, who was once human and made the deal himself, has become the best at this type of deal, and he loves it. Deal making for Supernatural Crowley is death at its finest. It's a penthouse suite. It's a 64-year-old Macallan Scotch. It's a torture Vic singing like a canary, all rolled into one. Deal-making seems to grant demons additional powers, including canonical examples of healing cancer, healing paralysis, healing Parkinson's disease, granting artistic talent, granting medical talent, granting literacy, granting length to male genitalia, securing bank bailouts, granting powers of witchcraft, making humans fall in love, granting knowledge of world and or occult secrets, bringing people back from the dead, and, Miles, you listening? Winning a wrestling title.
What was that, Brad? Sorry?
Shit.
Supernatural Crowley makes deals like it's his one true love, because it absolutely is. He makes deals with Sam, he makes deals with Dean, he canonically owns the soul of Dick Cheney, he makes deals with Bobby and Abaddon and Raphael and Castiel, the last two of which are angels. He makes deals with just about everyone in the series. Crowley adores nothing more than proving that no one is above making a deal with him. He revels in using his own human experience to isolate someone's weakness and bring them down to his level. He's proud of his titles and his trophies, and with good reason. You don't ascend from orphaned tailor to king of hell in less than 400 years by phoning it in or listening to the best of Queen. You get there by being bloody good at your job!
Team Good Omens. The point is dolphins. But you can still tell me about your opening arguments.
So let me get this straight. Y'all want to get into a tempt-off with the dude who literally invented temptation? I mean, okay, whatever floats your supernatural hellboat on the lake of fire, I guess. Anthony J. Crowley is the name we'll be using to refer to this guy, if for no other reason than the fact that your character was explicitly named after ours, but his name used to be Crowley because he was a snake. In fact, he was the snake, the one that tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden. I think it says something right there that when the highest forces of hell decided they wanted someone to go and fuck with the first humans, Crowley is the one they sent. But that was, in every sense of the phrase, in the beginning. Good Omens Crowley has been hanging out on Earth ever since, tempting the shit out of people and doing it in style. He's had the entirety of human existence to refine his craft, and he's gotten, shall we say, damn good at it.
Supernatural Crowley has lived a total of 356 years. He makes it from 1661 to 2017. And compared to Anthony Crowley's age and experience on Earth, this is nothing. Supernatural Crowley is, relatively speaking, a baby. As for temptation, baby Crowley's life in hell starts because he himself took a bad deal. So yeah, he's got experience with temptation, as the chump being tempted. He often overstates his experience in the show, saying things like, "I've sold sin to saints for centuries." You've been at this for 3 centuries, and now you're a pro? Please. He wasn't even a fucking round when most of the nasty business of history was going down. Time is linear, so statistically speaking, most of history has happened prior to now. But Baby Crowley wants credit for being a mover and shaker for showing up 5,644 years late holding a Starbucks. While real Crowley was there since the very beginning, as in the beginning, God created, etc., and so on. Crucially, Baby Crowley's experience is with other supernatural types. He doesn't get out much with the common folk. All his experience is with Sam, Dean, and Kaz. As for strangers, they probably want to stop hell from taking over the earth or, like, have a bigger dick, right? The two kinds of people in the world, presumably.
Like all demons in Good Omens, Crowley has no regard for the laws of physics, and his power set is so hand-wavy and all-encompassing that there really isn't much he can't do. He spends most of the book transforming things into other things with a snap of his fingers, driving down crowded roads at over 100 miles an hour because the other cars just get out of the way, and killing ducks in the park for no reason until his angel buddy, Aziraphale, guilt-trips him into bringing them back to life. He walks into a raging inferno and emerges unscathed. Well, no, actually he gets scathed, but then he snaps his fingers and he's unscathed again.
Yay!
He holds together his flaming metal Bentley through sheer force of will, simply by imagining that it was still a functioning vehicle, and he has demonstrated the ability to instantly read the minds of mortals and discover what they want. He can travel down telephone lines at unbelievable speed, and since Good Omens was published in 1990, God only knows, pardon my French, what he would get up to in the internet era. At the beginning of the book, Crowley says, quote, "I tied up every portable telephone system in central London for 45 minutes at lunchtime." How did he do this? We don't know, and it doesn't matter, because that's just the kind of thing he can do.
Baby Crowley is powerful in all the ways that mean nothing to this match. If this was a cage match, he'd be set. If this was a magic battle, he'd win. But in a test of tempting Ned Flanders, Ned Hidley-Ho Neighborino Flanders, what good is thermokinesis, telekinesis, possession, super stamina, perception, teleportation, etc. going to do for him? All those powers mean diddly doodly, because even his most applicable powers he just leverages for personal gain that has nothing to do with his job and everything to do with his power grabs and revenge. He can talk to animals. Nope, uses it to get information on his mother. He has mental manipulation, uses it on his son. Can memory scrub, uses it on a prophet who still manages to turn the tables on Baby Crowley later and torture the frick out of him. His use of powers rarely saves him from capture, from torture, from holy water, from exorcism, from his own overwhelming drive to get his damn way. Furthermore, if he's so powerful, at the very least it's wildly inconsistent, because he routinely gets plans foiled by that pesky moose and squirrel and their emotionally constipated lumber-sexual ways. That is how he's been on the show from season 5 to 12.
One of the things that Crowley has going for him over other demons is that he has adapted his techniques to the modern world. That thing I mentioned about him tying up the phone lines comes up when he and a couple Dukes of Hell were reciting their deeds of the day. Hastur and Ligur were spending all their time working on individual souls that would both eventually fall into damnation in a few years. Crowley, on the other hand, was working on a broad scale, giving, quote, thousands and thousands of souls a faint patina of tarnish. Now, you might think that this puts Crowley at a disadvantage when it comes to tempting a single person, but keep in mind, his new methods are a fairly recent development. Crowley used to do exactly what Hastur and Ligur are still doing, and he's devilishly good at it. Aziraphale says as much at one point. But the best example of it is when Crowley successfully tempts Aziraphale himself into helping him prevent the end of the world. Aziraphale is an angel. He initially has no problem with the world ending because that means the great war between heaven and hell can begin, and he's convinced heaven will win and the world will be better. Crowley replies, "But it won't be as interesting," and starts hammering Aziraphale with all the material and worldly things the angel loves and doesn't want to give up. Aziraphale tries to resist, even saying, quote, "Don't you try to tempt me, I know you, you old serpent." But in the end, Crowley convinces him to go along with his plans, successfully talking an actual angel into prioritizing his own desires over the good of the world. Ned Flanders is a lot of things, but an angel is not one of them. What he is highly susceptible to Crowley's modernized temptation techniques, trademark Miles Schneiderman, and experience working with humans. Crowley can go old school and play chess for your soul if he wants to, but his preferred game is dominoes. He sets a series of events in motion and lets the humans damn themselves, fomenting outrage and negative emotion that spreads from one mortal to another in the form of anger and abuse. Flanders might just be one soul, but he exists within the community of Springfield and has a long history of letting his neighbors, mostly one specific neighbor, drive him toward the dark side. Crowley just has to nudge Ned's fellow citizens into making his life a living hell, and at least half the job is done already. Or if Crowley decides to just go to work on Springfield as a whole, it won't be long before the entire town is hellbound, and Flanders falls with all the rest.
When baby Crowley tempts, typically he catches people in unwinnable situations, as the Winchesters and Cass usually are. There's also the people he tries to court because he wants something from them. In the episode /fiction from season 7, he bakes muffins for Dick Roman, an evil shit who he wants to collaborate with. The guide turns him down with a kindly, "I'd sooner swim through hot garbage than shake hands with a bottom-feeding mutation like you." Ned Flanders isn't going to say that, but probably the Flanders equivalent of it. Baby Crowley can't resist a personal touch. He likes to be a salesman, and that involves being upfront about the whole demon thing. His Englishy bon mots won't win over Flanders, and neither will whatever he offers up, because it comes from a jumped-up, punk-ass crossroad demon who can't get over himself enough to do his goddamn job. Get out of the way, darling. OG Crowley has this handled. Baby Crowley does what he does for his own motivations, and those motivations are get back at his mom from like 300 years ago, grab power in hell, or prevent himself from being taken down by the brothers Winchester. Baby Crowley himself is actually quite easy to tempt, because his desires are widely known, power and dealing with mommy issues. How do you think the Winchesters are always making deals with him? And yes, he did used to be a crossroads demon who dealt in temptation. But here's the thing about the crossroads. The crossroads don't come to you. You come to the crossroads. He got to shoot fish in an eternally damned barrel. You tempt 100, 1,000, 10,000 people who came looking to make a deal already. Good for you, honey. I'm sure you're very talented at picking low-hanging fruit. If hell wants to wreck people who aren't looking to sign their soul away, you need someone with a little more guile than lurking near intersections. And this demon doesn't have it.
Above all else, Anthony Crowley is a demon who does his job. Don't mistake his easygoing nature for a lack of motivation. His motivation is that he likes his life. When given a direct order from the pit, he follows it because he doesn't want to get tortured for eternity. He does the job well, but he also does it fast, because like any of us, he wants his workday to be over so he can live a little. That's how Crowley survives, by efficiently and effectively damning souls. Ned Flanders is nothing. By sundown, Crowley will give you the entire state of Sorry. You guys want me to say that part again? Or?
No,
we got it.
I think we got it.
I heard it very clearly.
Cool.
Oh god, are we done? Oh god. Oh my god. That was so long. It felt like I was in mass all over again. Oh god.
We did our best.
Did you?
That was what the thing about doing my best was. Yes, I did. Thank you.
You know what? Weirdly... You know what, Kit? You're not going to believe this, but actually we both cut back significantly.
Significantly.
Whew.
Time for rebooties? Rebooties. Team Supernatural. You torture all your friends. It's how you show love.
Yes.
It's true. This is kind of a small point, but I do just really feel like I want to touch on it, because you guys were waving the flag of, my guy is so good, he's the one who tempted Eve, who, like, at the point at which she was tempted, was more or less the definition of naive. Like, her whole thing is that she didn't know the difference between good and evil.
Yeah, talk about low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
I mean, she didn't know the difference with... Oh, shit, sorry, Brad, I just got that. I mean, look, that was the first temptation ever, so like nobody knew good and evil before that, so like there was no such thing.
He invented it. Invented! The first person who did a backflip probably didn't do a great one, but they fucking invented it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying it was necessarily the hardest thing in the world, but that happened forever ago, and he's only gotten better at it since then.
Miles, you put forth the strategy that essentially G.O. Crowley is going to be trying to make Springfield itself into a living hell that will push Flanders over the edge. And, like, trying to wear Flanders down by stressing him out is a very long-term proposition. Like, there's that one Simpsons episode where everything starts going wrong for him at, like, Job levels, and he finally gets pushed to the edge, and what him at the edge looks like is him saying the word crap. And, like, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying it's going to take a very long time. But on the other hand, he does have 2 deceased wives that I'm sure he would love to see again, which is basically Supernatural Crowley's opening move in this sort of situation.
The kind of broad do the things with Springfield thing, like, that's one option. He could go the direct option as well. He's done it before. He's been doing it since before you were even conceived, like hundreds of years before. But beyond that, a guy like Flanders, I don't know that going up to him and offering him something that he wants is really the way to go. Because, like, yeah, I understand your point about, like, he goes to the Job thing and then says crap and that's it. But, you know, when his whole backstory is revealed in Hurricane Nettie, he does, like, start to change his character and allow himself a little bit more of an outlet for his anger. And I just think that, like, the people of Springfield are awful and terrible and have been awful and terrible to him on their own. If you've got a demon working behind the scenes, making sure that all of their venom is, like, directed a bunch of different ways and then focuses straight on Ned Flanders, I don't think it's going to take very long. I think he's going to snap quick if he's actually the subject of a focused supernatural but indirect attack.
Yeah, Springfield is a fucking powder keg, and Crowley's just the guy holding the match.
We have a key difference in strategy here, and the Good Omens Crowley strategy actually kind of plays into, I'm going to call him Fergus, because he was Fergus before he was Crowley.
That's fine. We'll call ours Anthony.
Why didn't we think of this before? That's a way easier way of differentiating them.
So Fergus is much more, like, goal-oriented and direct, and as you erode Nettie's, like, will, we're just going to sweep in at the last minute and steal your victory. Like, it's an underhanded move, and it's, like, basically cheating, but it's absolutely what Crowley would do, and it would work.
Well, it's not, I mean, it's not undermining his, I'm sorry, Brad, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's not undermining his will so much as, like, driving him to do things that collect, like, sinfulness on his soul. Like, the way you collect a soul, at least in Good Omens, is that you tempt people, you corrupt them, you make them sin, you make them do bad things. So it's not like we're working on Ned's will so much as it is we're working on making him act more like an asshole than he normally is. We're working on snapping him emotionally, not necessarily willpower-wise.
There's no handshake required.
But the difference there is that yours takes longer, and at any point in that, we can make our play.
I guess you could. However, I don't think that Flanders is ever likely to make a deal with a demon. He would go, no, he would invite Crowley inside for, like, hot cocoa.
At the start, he would.
Fergus, you mean?
Fergus.
Sorry, Fergus.
The Simpsons has never really encountered the kind of crazy things that Supernatural deals with in terms of torture and possession and just...
I mean, the Treehouse of Horrors.
Not really even then.
Are you going to torture him?
I'm assuming we are excluding Treehouse of Horror from canonicity, given that Flanders himself is the devil in one of those. So,
are you going to torture Ned Flanders? I want to know the answer to this question.
I don't want to say it. It's like, it makes me feel bad, but he has 2 children.
Yeah, it should.
You would think that of all the people on Earth who would know not to be tempted by demons, it would be like actual legitimate monster hunters who have a very good understanding of what giving into demonic temptation entails. And yet Fergus was able to convince Samuel Campbell to sell out his own grandsons. Like, he made a deal with that monster hunter Bobby to give him the location of death in exchange for Bobby's soul, and even, like, you know, gave Bobby back the ability to walk as additional leverage. And all of those things work in these areas where they absolutely shouldn't. Fergus just proves again and again that he knows exactly what to say in order to get someone to fold, even if all of their guard is up, even if they are suspecting him to do it.
Even if they're fully aware of exactly what hell entails.
I feel like it just proves that all the men in Supernatural are fucking stupid.
I was gonna say they're all fuckboys, but I don't know that that being a monster hunter makes you less likely to take a demonic deal, because if you're a monster hunter, you kind of understand that all this shit is real and out there and, like, available to be had for you, and you can kind of think about it logically. So since Fergus really only deals with monster hunters and other supernatural people, I actually think it's easier for him to do that with them because they like are instantly in a place of like open-minded consideration because they know it's even possible. So like when he's working on Flanders, a guy who not only is not a supernatural monster hunter, but like believes firmly in the power and rightness of his god, I think you're gonna run into a lot of problems on that score.
Team Good Omens. Bringing about Armageddon can be dangerous. Do not attempt it in this podcast, please.
You said that Fergus wouldn't sleep because doing so would mean that he was at risk for multiple assassination attempts. And to be fair, that is a lot of what he does in the show. But
what, sleeping or being the target of assassination attempts?
Being the target of assassination attempts. That is a thing that he has to spend a considerable portion of every moment of his life dealing with, and it throws off a lot of his plans. Now, by the end of the season, he does usually manage to figure out part of what he wants and get a little bit of it, but there's a lot of backstabbing, wheeling, dealing, and him getting trapped in circles that happens before that.
I think that what that just shows is that he's a lot more used to direct competition. You know, a Good Omens Crowley can afford to take a century or two off and just kind of hit the snooze button, you know, for a few decades. But Supernatural Crowley, he has to sort of move against other demonic forces. He has to manipulate his rivals and anticipate what they're going to do and try to remain one step ahead of them at all times. And we see in Supernatural, that's exactly what he's best at doing, is sort of being in this game where he has to compete at all times.
Anthony doesn't fuck around with his superiors unless it's the end of the world, which it was explicitly mentioned in the scenario it is not. So aside from that scenario, Anthony Crowley does everything he's told to do, and like I said, he obeys because it makes his life easier. Whereas Fergus is constantly looking for a way up the ladder. I don't even know that he's going to be like that interested in Flanders here, because Flanders is just some dude that he got told to corrupt, and like, fuck the person higher up that told him to corrupt Ned Flanders. Someday he'll have that person's job. And I think he's going to be scheming to fucking use this whole situation as just a way to get himself up higher in the hierarchy of hell and not really paying attention to corrupting Flanders' soul.
He's going to do the soul deal anyway because he lives and breathes for that. Like, he can't not do that. That's just what he's used to. So whether he was ordered to or not, he just has fun doing it. And then the whole concept that Alistair?
Anthony.
He follows orders, but he doesn't follow them to the best of his ability. He follows them to the least of his ability. He follows them to the bare minimum. In fact, part of his whole pact with his angel buddy is to do as little as possible of the orders while still getting them technically passed.
That's not actually true. So, Brad, a big part of your guys' argument was about how Crowley isn't evil enough and isn't committed enough to his job. And I just think you're completely wrong about that. Because being actually evil isn't the goal here. We just need to do the job. It's actually not true that Crowley avoids doing evil, avoids hurting people, and takes, like, the path of least resistance at all times. He just does it in a different way. And the biggest proof of that is the M25 motorway, which is the one that's formed, that Crowley painstakingly crafted to form the sigil Odegra in the black, in the language of the black priesthood of ancient Mu. And now, after he's completed it, after he spent, like, poured his heart and soul into making this highway that he got accommodation for, by the way, it says, the thousands of motorists who daily fume their way around its serpentine lengths have the same effect as water on a prayer wheel, grinding out an endless fog of low-grade evil to pollute the metaphysical atmosphere for scores of miles around. That is not being evil. That is not cutting corners or doing things kind of in a least possible resistance fashion. That is being fucking efficient. Crowley is committed to his job. He just is way ahead of his time. And you cannot say that he is not evil, and you cannot say that he doesn't try to corrupt souls, because that's what he does all the time.
If he's so evil, why did he get so depressed when he saw the Spanish Inquisition to the point that he got blackout drunk for a week straight? Like, that's someone who is not used to that level of intentional maleficence. You know, like, this is someone who's not comfortable with that.
One is fucking gross. The insides of humans are disgusting. He is not a human and does not look at that stuff. It's also a thing where He and pretty much all the other demons and angels, especially in his particular situation, they don't particularly find that interesting. They think on much more black and white terms, a lot like, Fergus does. That kind of stuff is only really useful if you want to leverage it to get other humans to do that stuff. But he also, having seen that, understands intimately the potential of humans to cause other humans massive pain, damage. Oh my God. It taught him everything you need to know to make sure that you do something that is much, much more powerful than anything your kind of Job level destruction could ever do.
Yeah, it taught him that for all the evil that demons do, for all the evil that he does, the minds of humans can come up with worse, and therefore are the most potent tools in the corruption of souls.
And I just want to say something about that in regards to how that functions in Supernatural. The amount of times that the boys cry in that show, it's usually because they're making one another cry. It's not usually because Crowley's making them cry.
That may be the most MeganBob point that has ever been made on this show.
It's so true.
Oh my God, I'm in hell! I'm in literal hell listening to y'all argue about two characters named Fergus and Anthony. That's it. I'm going biblical on your asses. I'm gonna flood the whole show. I'm gonna start over. Cue the lightning round.
What?
Oh no, the biblical flood!
We need two of every host.
Two of every host! Oh my God, guys, we have to repopulate the earth somehow with our disaster babies.
Amidst the chaos of attempted manipulations, two pitch-black, red-eyed crows descend into the scene, carrying two red envelopes within their ebony beaks. Caw, caw! Message for Crowley!
Yeah!
The birds croak in unison as they drop their deliveries unceremoniously at the demon's feet. Within the crimson envelopes, a message scrawled in fiery ink on black paper. Y'all, hell can be so fucking extra, though.
It's also very hard to read.
No, the ink is on fire.
Oh, okay.
So extra. The message reads, to whichever Crowley has opened this letter, you have taken an insufferably long 20 minutes to accomplish the task given to you.
Yeah, that Simpsons episode is almost over.
Due to your incompetence, we've had to pull some of our finest minds from the Research and Corruptions Department in order to assist you fools with acquiring that human's delicious pious soul. We had to pull enough strings to create a complete fucking replica of Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat in order to get you the assistance you so clearly need. You will be accompanied by Aziraphale and Castiel respectively, and tasked with creating a buddy genre TV show.
Ha! The most corrupting influence of all.
We've found that the older humans that do not use social media are still most easily corrupted by their beloved boob tubes. Obviously, the angels don't know you're helping them corrupt a human soul. They think they're part of some heaven-hell exchange program that will ultimately lead to peace talks. Idiots. So don't let them catch on, or there'll be, to pay. The letter ends signed Alan Kingsley, Soul Collections Manager, and a devil emoji that ignites once the reader's eyes fall upon it. As the letters burn away, the two crows fly off, their caw-caws sounding more and more like laughter as they grow farther away. Your new mission, that you are forced to accept, is to partner up with the angelic counterpart of your opposition's universe. Supernatural Crowley will be working with Aziraphale, and Good Omens Crowley will be working with Castiel. Here's what you and your new best friend need to figure out. Besides the buddy genre, what type of TV show is this? How will your demon work with their unfamiliar angelic partner? How does each episode begin? Funny narration? Opening gag? And what's the big mid-season twist that changes everything? Bonus points if you can come up with a season finale cliffhanger that'll keep Ned coming back for more. As is tradition, we'll be reversing the order in which the teams proceed. So, Team Good Omens, it's your time to shine.
2.5 Men, the evilest show. It is Castiel, Angel Dad. It is Crowley, Demon Dad. It is the little girl from The Exorcist.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So the way this works is that Castiel is like the strict dad, right? And Crowley is the fun dad. And they're both kind of spend the whole time trying to do various fatherly shit. Crowley teaching the kid to shave. Castiel staring intently and go ahead.
And confusedly at porn that just happens across his dashboard, and then the child walking by and going what are you doing? And Castiel just staring going, I don't really know. Also, Castiel feels very like it's fine that you can take children to battles with unholy forces and that getting children covered in blood is fine. Crowley feels like it's fine to take a child out at midnight to go move pegs to make the M25.
The way the show works is kind of your classic, like, funny-duddy dad does a thing and fun dad fucks it up, right? So, like, let's say Castiel, like, spent all day slaving over a beautiful meal of pea soup, right? That he's gonna feed to his daughter from The Exorcist. And,
I wondered why it was pea soup, but now I know.
And Crowley just shows up with, like, unannounced guests and, like, a couple of pizzas and just ruins fucking dinner. And, of course, all this is happening in the context of, like, they have to come together to stop the Antichrist at the end, right? Because, like, that still has to happen. How are they gonna get along?
Mid-season, new neighbor moves in next door. Dean. So Castiel is all out of sorts, can't figure out how to approach the situation because he's an angel and he has the perceptiveness of a sad potato. And he feels like he's got lots of, like, in his pants feelings for Deans, but also understands none of them.
Dean
so the
Steele.
rest of the series is Crowley. Yeah, oh man, all of it. So the rest of the series is Crowley trying to help him out by doing, like, low-level trickery, like helping Castiel fake that he has the same interests, and then also pretending that, you know, Castiel knows what the fuck sleep is because he does not. He's like, oh yeah, no, we raised this kid together. He definitely knows what sleep is. He also eats like a normal person. And then, cliffhanger ending is the little girl from The Exorcist turns to Crowley and Castiel one night as they're, like, putting away dishes or whatever and says, I hate Dean. Oh no!
Oh no! You know, we wanted a kind of a clever, like, opening. So, you know, every episode, it opens with kind of the same little montage of Castiel and Crowley and the girl from The Exorcist doing, like, you know, getting up to hijinks and such. And the voiceover says, "It's not easy for any kid to have two dads. But when one is an angel of the Lord and the other is a demon from the fiery depths of hell, what's a kid to do? Help them work together, stop the Antichrist from destroying the world, and act like a family."
Canned laughter.
All right, Team Supernatural. Show them how you got 13 seasons and renewed for a 14th.
Just dedicated fans who don't care about the quality.
Oh.
So we've got a Black Books reboot.
Yeah!
And the opener is like a little jingle, and like Brooklyn Nine-Nine style, there's always like a little opening gag. You know, they're like thumbing through the pages, and like Aziraphale's like looking through and like taking stock, and then he finds like a dirty mag in the book stacks, and he's like, Crowley! And then it cuts to the theme song, and then it goes, Angel looks, Devil's books, it's Black Books! And then they're like leaning back to back.
Yeah!
Aziraphale, you know, he really wants this show to be instructive, and so he always tries to include a moral at the end of the story where he speaks directly into the camera about, you know, some lesson that everyone should take away from this. But Crowley always makes sure to arrange the books behind him so that they spell out something like dirty or subversive or otherwise tempting.
Anytime they're like working together on a project and Aziraphale like messes something up or takes something too literally, Crowley just always shouts his catchphrase of moron.
The mid-season twist to this is that at some point Aziraphale learns that Crowley has actually been spying on him from rival bookstore and thinly veiled Amazon.com analog Purgatory pages. But after Aziraphale confronts him, Crowley explains that he's had a change of heart. He wants to help Black Books to defeat Purgatory pages, you know, by like driving them out of town or helping Black Books to stay afloat despite the encroachment of this much more technologically savvy and up-to-date and modern bookstore.
And so they're like going to war with them, and like there's all these hijinks, and they're like using their powers to get people to read and to make their book fair a success and stuff. And then finally the cliffhanger at the end of the season is Purgatory Pages buys their bookstore, and suddenly they're working for the enemy.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Stay tuned for season 2 of
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Angel Looks and Devil Looks. Yeah.
He doesn't
Oh my
even.
God. Nailed it.
What moral are you guys gonna teach your viewers? That it's okay to like just fucking hoard used books and valuable books like a Zerafail and never fucking turn a profit?
Just hoard everything. Just be greedy.
Well, I have a very short amount of time to decide something that I have no idea which way this is going to go.
Great.
Okay, clock is on, and the clock is Brad's computer's battery
I still
life.
have 11%.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to be quick. Oh no, I don't know
right.
what I'm going to do. Bye!
Go to a crossroads. The answer will come to you, I'm sure.
Speed watching Supernatural was a bit of an experience.
Boy, do they say bitch a lot.
Yeah, they really do. I was real weirded out by like how excessively macho Dean's voice is.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Yes.
like Sam.
And it gets worse as the show goes on. Like,
I was gonna say, I don't feel like it is that way in like the first season, or at least not
Yeah.
as much. I mean, he's definitely supposed to be all macho and shit.
his voice
Oh,
changes
God.
so much more than his face does.
That's funny. I mean, he is Jensen Ackles, man. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful man.
He's a very beautiful man.
It's a CW show. That's like their main casting requirement.
Do you have cheekbones that you could shave cheese on?
You know, I first encountered Jensen Ackles in Dark Angel because
yeah.
he was on
Oh,
that show.
wow.
Your like knowledge of Dark Angel I find to be a little weird because as far as I know, you are the only person in my life who ever even watched that show.
Dude, I loved that show. I fucking read the novels that finished the story after it was canceled.
Man, there is
Yeah.
a depth of knowledge and lore around the show that I just had no idea.
I was
existed.
super into it.
Jeez, yeah, apparently. Although I don't want to neglect talking about Good Omens because
I was gonna say, like, not as into it as I was into Good
Oh,
Omens.
that was-
Yes.
because Good Omens is the best.
I didn't have enough time to finish reading it, but I'm definitely going to.
Okay, it is the book that has the longest running, as far as I'm aware, book-based fan fiction and fan contingent, and it has had
Really?
a Christmas fanfic and fan art exchange dating back to the 90s.
Wow.
Wow.
That is impressive.
Yeah, I have participated in it for like the last 4 years. It's great.
Oh,
What have you submitted to this exchange?
Oh, it's all Aziraphale Crowley. That is all I will write.
Ah.
Although, wait, no, have I written? No, other people do write like much more. They'll write a lot about adjacent characters.
I mean, what? Okay, you're gonna write about Anathema and
well,
Newt?
I think it would be so much fun to write some prophecies from Agnes Nutter.
People have done that
Oh, that'd be
too. They've done a lot of things. So the way it works is that you put in your requests, you put in 3 things that you would like people to write and some like your do's and don'ts that you're like, no, I will not tolerate this. Yes, I'm held into this. And you get to tell them how hot you want it to be. And sometimes they're like, nope, I'm only going to write, sorry, that hand will touch. That's what I'm into. You're like, okay, fine. You end up with somebody else's prompt. You do not write your own thing. So everything I've written was something somebody else really wanted. So the last one, they really wanted Shadwell to be in it. And I was like, I mean, okay. I think it was Shadwell buying like a Christmas present for Tracy. And so I had him doing some stuff on the internet very badly because he doesn't understand.
So it's like a Secret Santa, basically.
It is actually a Secret Santa. That's what it is. It's the like
Wow.
Good Omens exchange.
That's really
the
sweet.
GOE. You can go look it up. It's
That's really neat.
beautiful. And the same people have been running it for like 10 years.
I wonder how those folks are going to react to the adaptation that's coming next year, because, like, I'm really looking forward to it, but I can imagine that if you've been, like, steeped in fanfic for that long, then you might have some issues.
Most of them, I think, treat it as a very separate thing. And there's both a lot of excitement because they're like, oh my God, new fans, fucking finally.
Yeah. That's going to be a thing.
It accrues fans at a slow rate, but there's that. And then I think there's also some, I don't know if David Tennant and Michael Sheen were any of our first choices, but I'm okay. I do like them.
I think they're both excellent selections, especially
Yeah.
Tennant.
They don't look the way I thought they would, but that's okay. I mean,
mean-
I don't know. I've seen some very good fan art. Very good fan art. I saw a butt that was a great butt. Brad, what have you read of like Gaiman and Pratchett?
Not much, honestly. People have been recommending Discworld to me for a long time, but I think it always brushed up against my like deep well of Douglas Adams love.
Yeah.
And it just scratched a similar itch, so I never like really needed to delve into that.
I can see that. See
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense. I guess it's if you're it's Douglas Adams for people who like fantasy, and Terry Pratchett is, wait, I forgot what I was saying.
Sci-fi versus fantasy, yeah.
Douglas Adams is that for people who like sci-fi, and Pratchett does that for people who like fantasy.
Yes.
And I think I can totally see that. I think that as far as Gaiman goes, I think Neverwhere's the best thing he ever wrote.
Sandman.
Sandman's good. It's really good, but it's also super fucking rambly.
Yes, but if I can counter, Sandman.
Oh man. He got you real good, Miles. He got you.
That's true.
So I've returned.
Hello, Kit.
Oh, that's nice.
Kid.
I'm glad that you got back before Brad's computer went by.
Yes. Fear not, like I fear, because I don't. Oh god. This is like almost Aquaman Namor.
Wow.
Oh no.
It was really hard, but since we don't have time, we're low on battery time.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
It's all good. I think we need this level
Of haste.
yes, for our show normally. We ramble too much. So it was really tough. There was a lot of back and forth from the openers and then the rebuttals, but I think what it comes down to is, I think Fergus Crowley probably has what it takes to win this. Team Supernatural convinced me that he's enough of a hard ass who's used to competition, is willing to do worse things faster. That's kind of what it came down to. But, like, yeah, damn.
Oh my god, you're so fucking wrong. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it.
For the record, I love Good Omens Crowley's style a lot.
I would much rather be friends with Good Omens
by
Crowley.
a lot.
I'm going to say that.
No, I mean, that's the fine, but that was still wrong, like, thoroughly.
You know what though, Miles, we'll always have the fanfic of everything because we know in our hearts that the fanfic is true.
That's true, and I'll always have the extent, I will always know how much we kicked their asses tonight, Bob, even if the official record does not reflect it.
And I'm okay with that.
Because, I felt it.
You know, sometimes denial is an important thing to pull onto yourself like a blanket.
Them's fighting words.
Can we just declare that every episode this season has been wrong? Because that works out in my favor
It
very
sure does.
well.
Oh.
I feel like we're, that's our record, isn't it? Every single episode wrong every time.
Yep.
Yeah, I will reverse every decision for Sombra to be the winner.
Well, everyone from the beginning of the show.
Kit, you're not more upset about Vixen?
No, Sombra's my girl. Sombra, my girl. I'm sad for the animal powers.
Kit wants to be Vixen.
Yeah, I want Vixen's powers.
I'll trade you the Sombra match for this match.
Is that how it works? Trading cards?
I was the judge on that one. I'll trade you. Wait, let's fucking wheel and deal. Kit, meet me at a crossroads.
Oh, okay, all right.
Let's make a deal.
I cannot take credit for this one. I had to draw a magic circle and summon someone who knew a lot more about Supernatural than I did, and the demon known as Brad came to me, and Brad, thank you so much. Your expertise, as always, was extremely welcome, and you are very welcome to come back on the show whenever.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
All the
Well,
time.
thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to have finally brought the Supernatural fandom into the fold.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
man. It only took 3 years.
No. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
so Brad, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on,
dude,
dude.
thank
It was
you
a
so
pleasure
much.
having
Thank
you.
you.
always.
You're our favorite demon.
Time for the Kit Thanks for reals.
Yes.
Okay, so
No demon tricks.
first things first, Itchy Brains 2 is out for our patrons. So if anyone would like to listen to Claire, Bob, and I discuss The Shape of Water and ethical erotica and make a lot of fish phallus jokes.
And contemplate the existence of Jaws, but with abs.
Yeah, it gets wild on there. We have a fun time. Also, very good deep discussion sprinkled in between stupid discussions. For as little as $1 a month, you too can listen to jokes about fish dicks.
Yeah.
Support the show.
And isn't that the real victory?
Over to Twitter, thank you to Hayden Whom Time Forgot, Neil Butler, Fake Scott Kersey, Mike Booch, Robert Ramsey, Jake the Fake Blank Snape, Florian, Cosplay Fiend, Sandwich Surplus, the Politipop Podcast. That's a very P. It's a very P thing. Vander Turner, the Lawful and Orderly Podcast, the Tighten Up the Defense Podcast, Jeff and Rick Present,
yeah.
David Capoon, Andrew Young, Tyler, the Pop Culture Failure Podcast, and Sean Boyd. On Tumblr, thank you to Geek Haven, BatBlunt69, Sid Rabbit Blog, Changing Shades, Ultra Anonymous Angel, and G Prime. I know, the most anonymous angel.
Do you think it's actually one of the angels from this match?
Could be.
Castiel, what are you doing?
No, his Twitter handle is definitely not an angel.
Aziraphale doesn't know what Twitter or Tumblr
That's
is.
correct.
On Facebook, thank you to Tom Groh, Adam Mayo, Daniel Kidder, Matias Totimes, and the Tighten Up the Defense podcast. And just a heads up to all our fans who aren't on social media, Bob and I appeared on the Pop Culture Failure podcast to talk about an episode of Animorphs. And woo, that was a fun time.
Yes, the terrible 90s series Animorphs.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good, bad show. You cannot watch this by yourself. It's rough.
No,
but if you watch it with
can't.
friends, it's hilarious.
It's like watching the Star Wars Christmas special. You just gotta be drunken with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
But yeah, and the pod is fun. We have a good old time riffing on it.
We did. Thank you for having us
check
on,
it out.
folks.
Yes, that's run by the Sandwich Elemental, Sandwich Surplus, and his buddy Jake.
The Sandwich Elemental and his buddy Jake.
There's what our buddy show should have been for this one. We also wanted to thank, of course, Alan Kingsley, our featured patron, because he donated to us at any level from $1 and up. He was written into our storyline as some sort of mid-level manager in hell who is also a Crow enthusiast.
I have to think upper mid-level.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, the Crow thing was a play on words. It was a joke.
Sure.
Get it? Crow?
Yes. I get it. But still, he's a bird enthusiast and he has a very fine collection of hell ties, so he's going places.
Yeah.
And we also wanted to thank Matthew Laserwitz, who is a patron of ours at the $10 level and has been for 3 months or greater. And as a result, he got to dictate a number of matches that he would like to see from us. From the list that he gave us, we took this one. Kit even managed to coordinate with him in order to come up with a lightning round. And so, here we have Crowley versus Crowley, the second ever match of two identically named characters against each other. So, good job, Matt Laserwitz. Thank you. And thank you to all of our patrons for all the support that you continue to give us.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me on the internet.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out in the fan faction. It's been fun. All you people are great.
And we also have someone else to thank, and that is the latest person who has reviewed us on iTunes.
Yeah.
What?
Now, this one comes from BradleyMan612, and I'm fairly positive it's not Brad,
Okay.
just as a side note.
Are you serious? You don't think it's Brad, or are you putting it on?
I do not think it is Brad. I think,
Okay.
and hold on to your seats, we may have two fans named Brad. So,
No.
That's
No.
crazy talk.
but in any event, Brad Bultman or not, this particular fan gives us 5 stars with a review titled, Hucksaw.
Yeah.
And it goes, I used to like listening to good debates, but then the world got all dark and scary. I decided to find podcasts about pop culture stuff because that's my escape. I found this podcast. Now I can listen to actual good debates while escaping real life. Also, meta RPGs and collab. This stuff is amazing. So, thank you, Bradley, whether we know
thanks,
you or
Brad.
not.
You're great.
I mean, you're our friend now, Bradley.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
by default.
Yeah.
Join us on the fan faction. We'll talk to you
Come
about
to the
all
fan
kinds
faction.
Yeah. We want to know what your favorite butt is.
of stuff. Yeah, we want to know what your favorite
Oh,
butt is.
god damn it.
Come talk
The
to us
fucking
about
butt
butts.
thread. Good lord.
You
The butt thread
participated.
rises again. It's like the
I
Kraken.
participated in the shit out of that thread. That was a great thread.
Quality butt threads.
If you're not super into Facebook, there is also a Discord group that Hayden started. To get the link invite, probably your best bet is to tweet at Fortebari. Just tweet at us and we'll get you to Hayden, who can invite you. Thanks for spending a fraction of your short human life listening to Smash Fiction. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Next week is a new spicy Smash metafiction that we've lovingly named Shipwrecked. I wonder what that's about.
Smash Fiction is produced by Kit Mulcairn, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Wait, pause for Train, as in the band.
Yeah.
I wish Train did come by every 45 minutes and just sing a little thing.
Just drops of Jupiter.
Yeah, just
gently
drops of
wafting
Jupiter.
in through our window.
Some of those sweet uke sounds.